Good afternoon, Dr. Norton here for our second week writing tip. I'm taking this one out of a text by a guy named William Zinsser. It's called On Writing Well. This guy is a master, an incredible writing teacher, scholar, just an amazing communicator all the way around. This is what he says. He describes writing as a transaction between two people. Writing as a transaction between two people. He starts the chapter in this way, with a story. A school in Connecticut once held a day devoted to the arts, and I was asked if I would come and talk about writing as a vocation, as a job, right? When I arrived, I found that a second speaker had been invited, Dr. Brock, as I'll call him, a surgeon who recently began to write and had sold some stories to magazines. He was going to talk about writing as an avocation. That made us a panel, and we sat down to face a crowd of students and teachers and parents, all eager to learn the secrets of our glamorous work. Dr. Brock was dressed in a bright red jacket, looking vaguely bohemian, as authors are supposed to look, and the first question went to him. What was it like to be a writer? He said it was tremendous fun. Coming home from an arduous day at the hospital, he would go straight to his yellow pad and write his tensions away. The words just flowed. It was easy. Then it was Zinsser's turn to respond, and he says, I then said that writing wasn't easy and wasn't fun. It was hard and lonely, and the words seldom just flowed. Next, Dr. Brock was asked if it was important to rewrite. Absolutely not, he said. Let it all hang out, he told us, and whatever form the sentences take will reflect the writer at his most natural. I then said that rewriting is the essence of writing. I pointed out that professional writers rewrite their sentences over and over, and then rewrite what they have rewritten. Now, this is an interesting point here. I'm going to pause just a moment here before we go on. What is it to write? Writing is a discipline, as Zinsser talks about, right? Writing is rewriting. How do you make things clear? Well, if we're going to make a good transaction, we've got to get the paperwork properly done. We've got to get things lined up properly. What does it take to get a transaction set up properly? A lot of pre-work, a lot of analysis, a lot of structuring and organizing. Well, if writing is a transaction, we've got to do just that. We've got to rewrite and rewrite and rewrite. Now, I mentioned in the last writing point here, I said there's two people that go into your writing. There's the artist and there's the editor, right? You gotta let the artist do his or her work, but you must invite the editor in. If you only send out the artist's work, most likely, unless you're a Shakespeare or someone, one of very few people in the history of mankind that is a true artist, at that point then you should probably send your stuff out. But in truth, Shakespeare himself rewrote plays and poems too. So I could scratch that idea. So the artist must be followed by a good editor. You must allow the editor to come into the room because the editor will clean, simplify, and make that artistic work really pop and really come to life. He goes on, what do you do on days when it isn't going well? Dr. Brock was asked. He said he just stopped writing and put the work aside for a day when it would go better. I then said that the professional writer must establish a daily schedule and stick to it. I said that writing is a craft, not an art. And that the man who runs away from his craft because he lacks inspiration is fooling himself. He is also going broke. That's a great one. Now, as I've taught writing for many years now, and one of the things that I try to dispel on the first day of class is the idea that writing is some kind of art. That only those who are like Shakespeare, for instance, I just used that example, only people like Shakespeare or Emerson or these great poets, only they really deserve to write or should write at all. Nonsense. Writing is a craft. Writing is a skill that can be developed and sharpened. But it is important that we have these two aspects in place, the artist and the editor. Again, when I say artist, I use that in a symbolic kind of, I use that loosely. The artist is the one who, without any hindrances, writes away and creates thoughts, feelings, ideas. The editor is the one who shapes and polishes. So this idea that writing is an art, no, it's a craft, and something that hopefully even this semester you'll be able to develop and sharpen through clear technique by allowing that editor to come in and help you shape and create a real transaction out of your writing, a clear transaction. He goes on, what if you're feeling depressed or unhappy? A student asked, won't that affect your writing? Probably it will, Dr. Brock replied. Go fishing, take a walk. Probably it won't, I said. If your job is to write every day, you learn to do it like any other job. A student asked if we found it useful to circulate in the literary world. Dr. Brock said he was greatly enjoying his new life as a man of letters, and he told several stories of being taken to lunch by his publisher and his agent at Manhattan restaurants where writers and editors gather. I said that professional writers are solitary drudges who seldom see other writers. I love the depressing tone that Zinsser takes here, I think, is fascinating. So what's his point? His point is that writing as a craft, you need to do the work. It's work. Sit down, put pen on the paper, and start writing. That's how you write. That's how you create works of letters. That's how you create important documents. You're not waiting for some muse to show up and begin to write in that way. He goes on. Do you put symbolism in your writing? A student asked me. Not if I can help it, I replied. I have an unbroken record of missing the deeper meaning in any story, play, or movie. And as for dance and mime, I have never had any idea of what is being conveyed. I love symbols, Dr. Brock exclaimed, and he described with gusto the joys of weaving them through his work. So the morning went, and it was a revelation to all of us. At the end, Dr. Brock told me he was enormously interested in my answers. It had never occurred to him that writing could be hard. I told him I was just as interested in his answers. It had never occurred to me that writing could be easy. Maybe I should take up surgery on the side. That's it for today.